An American who was teaching in Wuhan, China, is finally back home in Ohio. John McGory was quarantined for months. Here he is with his wife. He said quarantine in Wuhan was like living the exact same day every day with no end in sight. But he also has some advice for those of us who are now about, a month into quarantine. John joins me now from his home in Columbus, Ohio. So glad you're with us. How are you feeling today?
Good morning, Susan. I'm feeling fine today, physically. Mentally, it's a little, it's a stress. It's difficult. I've been in some form of quarantine since the middle of January, so it does wear on you. And there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, and I think everybody needs to understand that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because mentally and physically are two different things, and we're grateful if we feel good physically, but the mental side of it can take its toll. And I was reading your adventure, so to speak. It almost felt like you were following, or coronavirus was following you. Take us through that for the viewer who doesn't know. You were in Wuhan, China when it began.
Right. I taught in Wuhan for 6 years, and I was coming home, but then I got caught up into the virus. And it first hit me was I was coming back from a light show at a park in Hankou in Wuhan, and I was on the metro, the subway system, a brand new, beautiful subway system, and halfway home, armed guards with bullhorns came on the train, ordered everybody off the train and onto the platform, and at that point in time, I think I realized my life was about to change.
Yeah, in all of your years, did you ever think that something like this would happen? We have all heard of pandemics, but to the extent of where it's shutting down not only Wuhan, China, but also now the U.S.?
Oh, I mean, who would know it, other than Stephen King and a few, brilliant minds out there, the rest of us, it's just something that's unbelievable. But, the last three to 4 months have been just an incredible journey.
And what advice do you have for people out there, because you've been under quarantine for some time, for those who feel like the stress is just getting too much for them? Physically, they may be okay, but the stress of doom and what's coming next, and will my life ever be normal?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to focus on do your job, and whatever your job is, if it's, staying at home, taking care of your mom and dad or your kids or whomever, or whatever you have to do, just focus on that. Try to set a schedule, do the things you need to take care of, because this thing is, it's from the bottom up. The governments can help us, but it's really the people that make the difference in this. They're the ones that are going to make this happen. The people of Wuhan stood up, and they were in quarantine for 76 days, and they came out of it. And I think this now, the people in New York and Los Angeles and Columbus, we have to do the same thing, and I'm confident that we will. But it's an everyday get up and do it again.
And you have 3 kids, 4 grandkids, and is it true that I believe you were in San Diego when people were fearful, as they would be, and you mentioned that you just had a grandbaby and they were all clapping?
Yes. Oh, well, what happened was on the rescue flight over from Wuhan to San Diego, my son and his wife Lindsay, Ethan and Lindsay, had my grandson Arthur. And so when I got to San Diego, I was able to get a hold of them, and they told me. And so right after that, we had a big meeting with all the people that were on the airplane. And so when we had a half-hour meeting with the CDC, it was kind of sobering, to say the least. And so I just said, hey, I just want to let everybody know, I had a grandchild on the flight over, and good things are still gonna come again, and we're gonna all have happy moments again in our lives. And everybody, I was appreciative they clapped for me and my family, and and I think that's the thing we have to keep in mind. Good times are gonna come again. We just have to get through this.
You have to embrace them. You're the author of an English-speaking guide, Seeking Balance. Do you think you'll write a second book while in quarantine?
That's what I'm doing with my time. I've been working on a book about my time in Wuhan during all of this. And my working title is Quarantined. So that some days it gets too much. You just think about this too much. Sometimes you just got to say, well, I'm gonna do something else. I got to get my mind off this. So you have to sort of give yourself some breaks if you can.
Good advice, and you got to come back on once that book is published. John, thank you.
Have to. Thank you much, Susan.